Hey guys, I'm Luke, this is Motor Minds Productions, and today I'm behind the wheel of my 2012 Ford Focus so I can teach you guys how to drive a stick-shift vehicle. Now, only 3% of car sales in the US nowadays attribute to stick-shift cars, and I think that's a real shame because stick-shift is such a great way to connect with your car, have that great driver involvement, and it opens up a lot of opportunities. If you know how to drive a stick-shift, you can drive pretty much any car that's on the market today, and you can hop behind the wheel of some really cool cars. Now, driving a stick shift is a lost art, but I do think that it's very important for any car enthusiast to know how to drive one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull over here and walk you guys through how to drive a stick shift vehicle. So to start, you just got to know about how the stick shift powertrain works. You have an engine which sends its power through a transmission, which then sends its power to the wheels, and that's how the car moves. But between the engine and the transmission, there is a clutch, and what the clutch is responsible for is determining whether the engine is going to send its power through the transmission or not. When the clutch is all the way depressed, it is not sending any power to the transmission. The engine's spinning at its own speed and the transmission spinning at its own speed. But when you release the clutch pedal, it slowly meshes up the engine and the transmission so the engine can send its power through the transmission. Now, that's why clutch control is so important, because that basically dictates whether or not you can get the car to move or not. Now, when it comes to shifting the transmission, instead of a regular gear level where you put it in park, reverse, drive, or neutral, you have a gear shifter which puts you in a certain amount of gears. My car is a 5-speed with a reverse gear. Some cars, you'll have a 6-speed. Some cars will even go up to 7 speeds if you go for a Porsche 911 or a modern day C7 Corvette. So what we're gonna do now is show you guys how to operate all of this stuff. If you look down at the camera view that's pointing towards my feet, which is gonna come up onto the screen right now, you can see that there are 3 pedals in a stick shift vehicle, unlike 2. Your normal automatic car has a gas pedal on the right and a brake pedal on the left. However, now it's gas pedal all the way on the right, brake pedal in the middle, and this pedal here by my left foot is the clutch. I'm pushing it up and down as we speak. That is the clutch pedal. Now, to make the car start, first you got to push the clutch pedal in, and then you can start the vehicle by using your key or push button or whatever feature your vehicle has. Now, once you have the engine started, you can put it back into neutral, let the clutch off, and you can sit, because neutral gear allows the engine to spin the transmission without the car stalling out. Now, to start the car, it sounds like a simple process, but it can actually be quite tricky. To start, you're going to push your left foot all the way down on that clutch pedal. Make sure it's pushed all the way to the floor. And the first thing I'd recommend doing before taking off is putting the shifter into each gear so you know where they are. So I'll start with first, which is towards you and up, second, towards you and down, third, middle, up, fourth, middle, down, and fifth is away from you and up. And in my case, reverse is away from me and down. That is all the gears in my particular car. Your car will vary, so I highly recommend checking that out and exploring and getting used to it before you take your car out for a first drive. So like I said earlier, foot all the way down the clutch, I just put it in the first gear. So the transmission's in gear, but since the clutch is in, the engine and transmission are disengaged from one another, so the engine is still running. Now when I let my foot off the clutch, that's going to bring the engine and transmission together so the engine can send its power through the transmission. However, you want to do this really slowly, because if you just let the clutch out, the engine won't be able to pull through and get the transmission to move. So you got to slip the clutch so the engine can slowly start transmitting its power to the transmission, which will get the car to slowly start moving. That way you do not stall out. So what I'm going to do now is foot off the brake. You can see that I'm slowly releasing the clutch. About halfway through, you get to what's called the engagement point, where the clutch plate, starts to come in contact with the flywheel and you start to move forward. Now I'm going to let off that clutch pedal. I get about halfway through. You can hear the engine start to bog a little bit, and now I am moving. Now you can basically, on any flat surface, by slowly releasing the clutch like I just did, get your car to move on a flat surface, because the engine is generally producing enough torque at idle to slowly pull you off. But for a quicker start, you're going to need to modulate the gas pedal as you let that clutch out. Now let me demonstrate to you guys what that is like. Pulling over here again, my foot is all the way down on the clutch. I just put her in first gear. I'm letting off the clutch. As soon as I get to that engagement point, I can tell that right now because my RPMs are starting to drop. I'm going to start giving it a little bit of gas, and as I let off the clutch, I'm giving it more gas progressively. It's essentially a balancing act. You're trying to roll onto the gas as you roll off the clutch and find that happy middle point with the perfect amount of gas and the perfect amount of clutch release that you get a nice smooth start. Now, as much as I wish I could tell you guys some fail-safe, foolproof, like fairy magic way to always get this right, there is no such thing. Every single car is different, and you're going to have to learn this on your own, but that is the fundamental way of getting the car started. You got to slip that clutch, give it a little bit of gas just to get the car moving, and so you can roll around in first gear like I am right now. To come to a complete stop, you can see what I just did. I put my foot in on the clutch, and now that I'm in neutral, I can release that clutch. Now I'm going to start up again. I'm pulling onto a main road, so I got to get a quick start, just like that. And I will get into gear shifting in just a moment. So now we're going to move on to the second step of driving a stick shift vehicle. Now you know how to get the vehicle rolling, but you don't know how to shift it into gears. So basically, shifting gears allows you to move at a faster speed. Think of it this way. All the gears below fourth gear generally are for going at slower speeds to get the car up to speed. Once you're in fourth gear, it's a direct drive normally. That's a generalization. Most times, if you're in fourth gear, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and your engine speed is moving at the same speed that your car is on the road in the RPM equivalent. Now, when you put it in fifth gear, that's essentially like you can think of it as an overdrive, where the engine is spinning at one speed and the transmission is spinning at a faster speed, which means that the engine can idle at a lower RPM and you can get better fuel economy on the highway. So let's talk about shifting gears. I'm going to start off, so I'm now rolling in first gear. I'm at 3,000 RPM. I don't want to sit around at this high RPM, so I'm going to put the clutch all the way in, and then I can pull it into second gear and release the clutch. And as I'm releasing the clutch, once I get to that engage point, I want to start giving it gas. So that way I get a nice smooth gear shift. Because if I were to just release the clutch without giving it any gas, the transmission is going to be rotating at one speed and the engine is going to be rotating at idle. So when you release that clutch, it's going to yank the engine speed all the way up to whatever speed the transmission is rotating at, and you're going to get a massive, nasty, uncomfortable, painful jerk, which will probably make you cry if you're a car guy, because you just know how bad that can be for your clutch and your motor mounts and all that. But I'm going to do this again. So I'm now in first gear, clutch in, pull it into second, clutch out as I'm getting back on the gas. For third, clutch in, put it into third gear, let the clutch out as I get on the gas. Beautiful, smooth gear changes. Same thing for fourth. And yeah, I can just cruise around. When it comes to shifting gears, anyone will give you a different perspective on when to shift them. I'd say if you're just cruising around, I generally shift it around 3,000 RPM for city driving. You can really shift whenever you want, depending on your driving style, what speed you're going, what the conditions are like, just as long as you don't stall out the engine by putting it in too high of a gear. But you also, if you are in too high of a gear, you'll want to downshift. And I'm not going to teach you guys how to downshift in this video, because that's just too complex. You got to learn how to rev match and all that. If you generally just want to put it in a lower gear, you can put the clutch in and put it into the gear you want. Like say you're going from fourth to third. You can put the clutch in and release it when you go into third, but just release it slower so that way the clutch can bring the engine up to speed with the transmission so you don't get that jerk. I will teach you guys how to do an appropriate rev match downshift. That is super satisfying when you get it right, and it saves your clutch a lot, and it's a lot quicker than slowly letting that clutch out and allowing the clutch to do all the work for you. But that is pretty much how you drive a manual transmission. Yes, this is a rudimentary entry-level video for those that have no clue how to drive one. I will be doing a video on more advanced manual transmission techniques, such as clutch dumps, which honestly I don't really recommend. I'll just show you guys for the hell of it. I can also show you guys, like I said earlier, rev match downshifting, heel towing, stuff like that. That's all great knowledge, stuff that you guys are going to want to know, especially if you want to go out on a track or do some really spirited driving. I really hope you guys found this video informative and engaging. I certainly enjoyed making it for you guys. Definitely one of the more interesting videos I've made. I've had to use my phone as a camera because there's so many damn camera angles. I need to get in the car here to show you guys everything. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Definitely check out our other videos. We really enjoy you guys coming in, checking out our channel. We need your support for us to grow. So definitely subscribe if you like the content. Find us on social media, and definitely be sure to tune in and check out our next video.